Thank you. I would like to introduce Arleen Paré. Arleen is the author of 8 books of poetry, most recently Earl Street and First, and now Time Out of Time. She worked in mental health housing for more than 20 years. Her writing has been shortlisted for the Dorothy Livesay Poetry Prize and has won the American Gold Crown Award for Poetry. She's a grandma and loves her sons and their children. And she and her wife, Chris, enjoy opera. Arleen won the City of Victoria Butler Book Prize, a CBC Bookie Award, and a Governor General's Award for Poetry. And she hasn't had dessert for 3 years, except for fruit, apricots. Please welcome Arleen Paré.
Can everybody hear me? Yes. Great. Thank you, Anne. That was the most interesting introduction I've ever had. I'm particularly proud of the CBC Bookie Prize. Nobody even knows what that is, but I beat Dawn Mackay. Yeah, that's because I have more friends. That's all you need. If you're going to be a writer, I always say, if you're going to be a writer, have a lot of friends. And I want to thank Russell's Books, Zoe, who keeps this going, and all the volunteers, Anne, who's here tonight to keep us all together. Thank you all for attending. And thank you to my wife, Chris Fox, over here, who's selling books. She's a really, really good bookseller. Yeah, she's already sold 2. And so I'm going to be reading from this book. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I have to thank, but maybe not. I want to thank my sister Donna, who's watching from Ottawa. Hi, Donna. And I think that's it. If I'm missing somebody, put your hand up and I'm happy to. Oh, Barbara, that's right. Here. Yeah, right. Okay. So I'm going to be reading from this book called Time Out of Time. I wrote it last year in about, I don't know, 5 to 6 months. It happened very quickly. That has never happened for me before. But it happened that quickly because I really kind of fell in love with Etel Adnan. And Etel Adnan is the writer of a book called Time. And that book called Time won the International Griffin Award in 2020 when Etel Adnan was, I believe, 95. So when I read her book on the advice of Maureen Hines, who lives in Toronto, hi Maureen, if you're watching, and I
she isn't, but if you could just speak up just a little bit closer to the mic, it would really help those of us who are on Zoom.
So I'm happy to do that, but that was divine. Well, the whole thing is kind of surreal, isn't it? Like, here I am, I'm reading in person. I haven't done that for so long in a bookstore. This is unreal. So that was the icing. Not that I eat desserts, but anyway. So Etel Adnan, and I do want to advise people, if they can get a copy of Time, to take a look at her poetry. When I read it, I thought, this poetry is kind of magical. I just love it. And I wanted to write just like her. I don't know if that's ever happened for anybody. I want to write just like that person. Happens to me a lot. And when I read hers, I thought, really, this is beautiful. And it wasn't the kind of formatting that I used ever. And so I really had to adjust my writing. And I feel like I learned a lot from her. And this week, a very sad event happened in Canadian poetry. Stephen Heighton, wonderful person, wonderful poet, wonderful novelist. He died, and we're all completely upset about that. But he had he was a poet, he was a novelist, he was a songwriter, and he did translations. And when he began to translate poetry, he said, every time you set out to translate a great poem, you enroll yourself in a master class with a great poet. And I think that's true. Now, I wasn't doing any translation because Etel Adnan, although she's a Syrian-American poet, was writing in English for the book called Time. She also used French, and she used Syrian. She used a number of languages. She was a polyglot. And he says it makes your own poetry better. So I wasn't translating, but I was paying an awful lot of attention to how she wrote. So it was as though I was writing in her sort of almost channeling her, but I was learning from her. And so for me, it applies. And it's true, it was a process of enrichment for me. So that's how I came to write this book. What I did was because I fell in love with her and her words and her poetry, this book became a book of praise, a tribute to her, an homage, if you want. And I started writing I started writing poems to her in a way. Not every poem, but many of the poems. And I just numbered them. Oh, thank you, Zoe. I can hear myself. That's great. So the numbered poems are all in the format style of Etel Adnan. And then I inserted a number of poems into this collection that are written in my style. Those ones have titles. So I'll start reading some of the numbered poems in the same style as Etel Adnan. Etel Adnan, number 1. The first time is in an empty bank, 2 p.m., first page, masked. The pandemic empties out all ambient noise. The hush the pages make as they turn, untiming. The glass doors monumental onto the unpeopled street. Number 2. I want to follow you into your small verbal squares, elegant, spare, enough cut. Follow you there, despite claustrophobia, those 5 fearsome syllables, the O tight in the middle, 3 p.m. Even the word wants release. Nonetheless. Number 3. I would follow you anywhere, leave the pear halved on the plate, meet you at O'Hare or Heathrow or at Marrakesh, Manara. Get lost once again or forever in your words, just your words, with or without any meaning, the shape of them in perfect translation. I don't even know what you look like. Number 4. Would I pursue her if she didn't play on the same team? If I knew what she looked like? Would I trail her into tentative darkness, follow her on a voyage of no return, track her to the edge of evil and good, stanza after sweet-smelling stanza, with no punctuation, no question mark? Number 5. When she entrusts us to what's subterranean, will we find what's buried there? Beetles, broken glass, rats, root systems, teeth. When she says happiness is unbearable on page 67, despite how much we love her, does it deflect us from peace? She, a small, movable organism, bespeaking hope, even when hope is in hiding. Number 8. Number 8 comes with a head note. Time is how we measure change. If you are lucky, in time you will never stop smiling. Death is a collective perception, an unwavering bond, a staunch transformation. It will arrive. If you are lucky, you will die full of days. Is there anything that does not lead in this dreamy direction? And here comes a poem with a title. It's called Mother of Lyric. When Sappho came down from the high meadows, wreathed in butterflies, white and soft yellow, with two maidens, one at each side, which is what she preferred, each wearing lavender wrapped round their wrists and their waists, all expectation, though they knew only to write with a stylus, not to bounce babies or boil broth, only to hold up their hands, all praise and forbearance, only to scratch words, flowers and flight, words that meant love, which is what she preferred, as opposed to Homeric, though in truth, Sappho would not have used the word oppose. In her Sapphist, bi, queer, lyric, lavender lifestyle, in her encounters, she would not have used the word anadionome, even in fragments. How could a fragment oppose? How could the lyric? Even when sundered, its edges do not become teeth. Number 10. As if the one weather is worry, occasional breaks to blue sky, brief sunlight on sodden grass. The lyric will haunt me forever. I prefer not to travel. Sitting then at a table in southwestern France. Nor can I stray far from story, overcast, cloud cover, periods of rain, no hope of location. Number 15. I take you to bed more than once, lights on. When else can be time? Is it a crime to interpolate, inveigle you, my soul of the world, spun gold, a form of fable? Some say you are inimitable. Mirror cell, on the blank page. Who among us is faultless, faithful, sufficiently sage? Number 21. Philosophies embellish her while languages endow her tongue. She's political, but not greedy. During the war, she refused to use French. There are sheep in the blue bloated sky, bloated, frothing in, floating out. A camel never goes dry. A tiger never goes hungry. Paris beds her, while Greece, oh Greece, the sea there tenders her crowns of turquoise and gold, sea collars, salted white lace, riffled foam at slack tide. Which home is home? California is another dimension. Pop culture number 1. And it comes again with a head note from a California academic called Terry Castle. She says, why is it so difficult to see the lesbian? In part because she has been ghosted or made to seem invisible by culture itself. In the last century, the 20th, the late 1990s, everyone wanted to be a lesbian. This may be an exaggeration, maybe not everyone. Maybe not Pope St. Paul II or John Ashbery or Sarah Palin, but many, enough, lesbians being the media darlings of that period of time. TV, magazines, photo montages. The lesbian at last, at long, long last, becoming visible. Transmuting the zeitgeist, a time out of time, refreshingly free of sham. If you can't bring back the past, in time you can bring forth the future. And another one with a title, and this I write this for Jeanette and Rachel, two friends of mine. It's called A Blessing. This is what a blessing is. 40 years, waking up every morning side by side, leaving the house through the front door, enduring so little, a blessing. Only a few men in the street who holler, which has happened only 3 times, a blessing. And once 2 boys spitting close range, saliva running down the front of her coat, dog shit from a speeding car once, threats of hurt, the nighttime streets empty, how fast we ran. Years asking for the common privilege of benefits, workplace, same-sex, services denied. We are lesbians. We are small women, and the world does not care if we are friendly or kind. We do not hold hands in the park. We do not kiss goodbye in the car. We are not what we are supposed to be. But this is Canada. This is what a blessing is. This is not a country where the death penalty might apply. Number 45. Just sped through the whole. Number 45. My life has not been riddled with bullets, nor has my house been burned to the ground. I have never been raped or beaten or thrown down a set of back stairs or drowned. Nor does death hang from the trees where I live. Nevertheless, my head bears these facts. My mind contains reports from the 8 a.m. news, shootings, Miami, Kabul, a school in the suburbs, a knifing downtown. My mind doesn't stop at the edges of me. The world is a staggering place. The mind is a staggering world. Number 46. This is merely a record, a reflective, long-distant affection, a crazy, cacophonous crush, traces of memory, traces of mind, a missive, a meditation, geometries, paginations, a new way of placing. California is a long way by foot, a short way by word, a state, a place in what we call time. Paris is farther. You say love is the only salvation you know. Number 47. Parts of me are falling back into history, fading, backward into the once upon a time. Irrelevance is not a complaint. I know a slender blue ribbon rivers my life. This is a recognition, a far-flung regard. There are still rivers. There are lakes of green water. The word love twins the word kind. The 21st century tapers now into reckoning, reconcile. I try to live in the present, but the present is blindingly short-lived. Therefore, sotto voce, into the future, infinity. Nothing there is guaranteed. That's just how it is. And this one has a title. It's called In the 4 a.m. It's for my wife, Chris. It's sitting over there. The chorusing rain, so ravishing, we rush out of the house to make love. A before dawn silvery love, the cupped radiance, street lights bright as upswelling joy. The rain so glamorous, we light up 2 cigarettes, our backs puddled in boulevard grass. Under bare trees, we study the miniature teardrop chandeliers, blow collapsible smoke into felled funnels of wet. The rain, so clamorous, our breathing slows as though we've started to live underground. In Montreal, I wanted to make love on Mount Royal, wintertime, especially in winter, to climb the low slope, blankets, some of you know Montreal, blankets in sacks for the snow, to press small warming dents under the boughs. My husband at the time declining the white invitation, though I asked more than once. But tonight, this soft, fizzily falling, this rain insistent as pins, the contact so unmistakable, murmurous, cool, the undertones, the universe falling again and again. Number 42. Weak need in the presence of beauty, in the thrall of her eloquent words, this deluge of yearning, which is to say, be wary. This seduction of language, metaphor, this elision of disparate matters, the thrill of rhythm, rhyme, timing, the refrain of verbal persuasion, which is to say, poetry must always be tested for truth. And this is the last poem, and thank you all for listening. Number 49. Words are, together they brumble, oceanic. The ear too is a shell, is, waves are, trees too are waving. Any tree with or without pinnated leaves or live needles. And a river, of course a river, a mountain, even a hill, a small hill, a slice of same sunlight, crisp, adjacent, a charcoal blue shadow. Words are, I am, you are, already perfect, already a poem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arleen. That was wonderful. Those words will linger. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Yvonne Blomer. Yvonne is an award-winning poet and author of the critically acclaimed travel memoir, Sugar Ride, cycling from Hanoi to Kuala Lumpur. And she builds these fantastic miniature houses and scenes, sometimes crime scenes. Her books of poetry are As If a Raven, Refugium, Poems for the Pacific, and Sweetwater, Poems for the Watershed by Caitlin Press, and The Last Show on Earth. She is a murder mystery fan. Who knew? Yvonne served as Victoria's Poet Laureate from 2015 to 2018. She loves a good swim in a lake. Me too. She lives, works, and raises her family on the traditional territories of the Saanich, Songhees, and Esquimalt peoples. She loves camping by the ocean in their RV. Yvonne is a wonderful teacher, mentor, and editor, and she's a dog person, completely in love with her office assistant, Frodo. Welcome, Yvonne.
Oh, really? What a monkey. I will get in trouble later. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Oh, that was wonderful. I think I kind of felt like, wow, Arleen, wherever you are sitting, there you are. That was so wonderful. Thank you. Your poems are astonishing. I want to say a few things about Planet Earth poetry before I start reading, because before I became, or up until shortly after becoming the Poet Laureate of Victoria, I ran this show for 9 years, and prior to that helped Wendy out for several years. And look at it, it's still going, and we have Anne and Zoe to thank for that, and I'm just so, it's just miraculous. I just think of all the things that have gone wrong in the world, this continues to go right. So thank you so much. Yeah, we're gonna cry tonight, that is for sure. So hello everyone out there on Zoom as well. So it's Earth Day, and so I thought I would read all the hard Earth-related poems in this book. Because I ran the show, I know how to do that.
I'm noticing.
Yeah. So the last show on Earth is a book that touches on climate change and grief and loss, as well as family, life and death, despair and disease, laughter, a long, old, rusty marriage, etc. So I'm going to dip in. I'm going to read to you, the book starts with a quote from William Butler Yeats's poem, The Circus Animal's Desertion. A mound of refuse or the sweepings of a street, old kettles, old bottles and a broken can, old iron, old bones, old rags. Now that my ladder's gone, I must lie down where all the ladders start, in the foul rag and bone shop of the heart. So the reason the book touches on circus is partly because, or very much because, of the opening poem. And one of the final things I did as the State Poet Laureate was an art show at the Bateman Gallery, where I had the opportunity to respond to pieces of art by Robert Bateman. And so this poem is a response to his painting called Circus Train Nighthawks. In my imagination, the train here is an endangered creature, and it touches on the future and the present and the world full of ghosts. Circus moon, circus train. Candy wrapper moon. Split-winged hawks. Circus train. A dragon, silver and gold, scaled its lashing tail. How tent and train drew coin from candy-flossed hands, teased in by popcorn's buttery scent. This beast once chuntered across borders. Now the moon an opening in night, where blue-gray puce seep in. Here and then gone. A shadow, a species moving on a field you see and look for again. Faithful swaying servant, rolling articulated, it carried animals and humans, mover of low moans and quick laughter, every rail and time a rehearsal, for the last show on earth. Waning moon, night-stilled hawk, broken-spined serpent, the oiled skin and painted smiles of ballerina, clown, strongman shine through, ghost shapes in splintered shafts. Light on this reptilian ride, absence of whistle on a field where a kid stands, frayed jeans, eyes rolled to sky as puffed breath moves on wind. Luminous, empty moon, feral moon, night's coming in. My son appears in here throughout. My son was born almost 16 years ago with a rare genetic disorder called Prader-Willi syndrome, and was later at the age of 4 diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And so much, there's tidbits of that in the book, but I want to read you this sonnet for a newborn, now 7, now almost 16. Underground we were, below the citadel, my son newborn, asleep on my chest. On the streets above, Italian flowed like mother's milk in heat. We were in a cathedral or under it. We felt the etched walls for markings, birds or other animals. The monks or a priest above began to sing. Was it Ave Maria that fell through stone, through the ages and knowledge of stone? Sound, thrum in the chest entered us. Out of the corner of my eye or my imagination, I saw a boy leaning in. He was my son now. His hands are small, perfect, though one pinky finger a little crooked. Chords he plays while standing there. He flicks his fingers, idle or bored, flicks, and when he's lost interest, he flicks again, taps nail to nail. He picks a low baritone song, Gratia plena. Who sleeps here after Lorca? Dreams are spurs digging into a horse's ribs, searing pain, a novel full of magic, blackened eyes running, the scent of rain in a time after rain, summer fires coming fast, horses over the plain, careful, 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 the poets say, but care carries a pinch, at shoulder prick, at thigh a swelling in joints of a dominant hand. Sleep is the dog caged and turning, bumping walls and gate. The boy who begins to speak will never speak, howls, counts off the days, but to what end? Open roads and longing move under skin like music. A pulse of autumn, a heart once held still. Who sleeps here? Pinned to the wall, the unfelt earthquake sends dust to powder face, toxin from a toxic world. Spin or bow to touch the ground, and the walls move. Who here sleeps? Wander the corridors, clear paths to exits, obstructions moved for the big ones. Dog digs, but there is no digging through this crate, a drum in night's dead zone. So such hours measured by grief. Grief sings its own song, full of smoke and smoke's accompanying slur. So in the time of these poems, also my mom died and my father-in-law died. And this poem comes out of this notion from the Stoicism and Epictetus, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, who says, with regard to death, if, for example, you are fond of a specific ceramic cup, remind yourself that it is only ceramic cups in general of which you are fond. Then, if it breaks, you will not be disturbed. This here is no fine china. Fine bone china my mother was not, nor was my father-in-law a stout clay mug. The star lily and camas come back, but are not chipped dollar store crockery. The last stand of Gary Oak, last Vancouver Island marmot, or chorus of red-legged frogs are not a set of Royal Doulton, green or hammer white, nor is the Colquitt's Creek dug up for the war zone overpass, a red Tim Hortons disposable, roll up the rim, then toss it, paper cup. Everything is dying. Elders booed at during a political meeting are not wooden boxes in a museum, nor is a marbled murrelet the lost stock of Staffordshire enameled and gliding. Back to the boy. Pelagic cormorant, meaning open sea. So my son does not wander off, but there was always that fear that he might when he was little and quiet. The child tends to wander, takes his wooden dinghy, shoves off. The mother makes him tie a line to the shore, watches his oars lift and push, feels a tug below her navel, doesn't see him catch a fish with his small net, slice it and gut it, and under the seat store it, doesn't see him loosen the knot, bump the safety buoys at the harbor's exit. Oh, and here's a love poem for Rupert. It's like, I recently had my students write a goofy love poem, but don't forget to bring the world into it. This is the world interfering a lot with the poem. So here we go. Sorry, my sarcasm may be getting in here. It was made for you, a love poem from the future. Kiss me. Your kiss is cold, bottled water on my lips. Today the world is opening. It is closing. A kaleidoscope of shifting doors and windows. Along the beach we walk, picking our way over sharp bones of hard plastic, our feet printing the sand, our voices, nothing on such wind. Last night I dreamt I was lost in an already vanished rainforest, and the dog, still the dog, bound away and between falling shafts of light. Dreams are embarrassing, but do not be embarrassed. Dreams, mere shadows in flight. The dreamer a bird, its clawed feet so light. Kiss me. I'll kiss you, the last airplane full of families flying home this kiss. It lands and we live to cheer its landing. Overhead, dinosaurs and pelicans, the beach, a plastic cemetery. I gather and walk with my arms bouquet full, each bottle an orchid. Kiss me. We drink water from bottles. What is clean? What dirty? Your kiss, crystals of salt on thirsty lips. I dream we fall through the floor of an airplane. We fall and we fall, carbon caught in bone and flesh. Bodies burn like fuel. I have filled a pool with what warm water I could find, and salt, and shards of plastic from a broken chair, from an ancient Coke bottle, from thin Ziploc bags. Rest in this pool, love. It was made for you. I'm not super happy about the planet right now, as you may be picking up on. But that's okay. We're gonna get better, right? So I'm gonna read this poem that Mayor Lisa helps ask me to write. And it was right near the end of my term as poet laureate. And there was a rather kind of extreme right person running. And she asked me if I could maybe write a poem that would kind of, you know, fix everything. And I was like, okay, I'll try. Sure. So I went home and read Anne Michaels. And I think Trump was in charge down south at the time, and it was a grim time, but this is the poem I wrote. How to live in history. And then I had to read it, of course, at City Hall. Language is the tree holding its last umber leaf, swaying with meaning. You tread more lightly, listen for the break that will end a season. Music plays. Everyone in the middle wavers, a little left, a little right. There is a feeling in the forest that this leaf could fall, and it is divided by such fragile veins. Has anyone eaten lunch? Warm lentil soup and garden tomatoes are on offer, and soup is a kind of language in itself. It is a refugee and an immigrant language. Abandoned, lost, sunk into bone, burnt in fire, scraped like residue, licked clean by wolves and used again. It is native and it is mother. On wild nights, it fills dark rooms like confetti, like shadows. Nothing is real some days, nothing is false. Language in a line of poetry wants to tell you the truth of the matter, the way your mother may have told you, her forehead pressed to yours saying, listen, dear, listen. And you do because you feel like a child, and language is also family. The wind picks up and the leaf falls. Last whale, bird, freshwater stream. Fear forms a language all its own. Power, too. They forget that part of language is listening. Listen to the raven in the tree. It's throwing its voice, singing a frog song from high in the oak. Listen again. How are we doing?
6 minutes.
Oh, I'm going to talk myself out of all these poems. How great. I think we should come back to the board. Oh, this is good. Little bee poem. Little sexy bee poem. Paintbrush. The human finger, the eyelash, a dragonfly wing, the day's wind moving every green branch in the garden, the crow's cackle and its sharp eye as I water or dig. This is the tongue of the bee. What intelligence I have, I leave in books. Imagine lying under a flower to see the bee's tongue as it slips out of its pulp and sheath, lengthens to the flower's corolla, dips fine hairs, to soak up nectar. Pollination as sex, I understand, but this tiny tongue too is an entering, something quenched, something. Okay, two more. I would really like British Columbia to stop killing wolves. BC. I have a whole political statement here, just a second. Yes, and put in measures to decrease the spread of humans. Thank you very much. So this is my tiny Against the Wolf Cull poem. This wolf could be my now dead dog, my son, the bicycle I rode over 5,000 kilometers on. It could be the dream I had last night, the daffodils blooming in my garden. This wolf could be my monthly cycle, my mother now in a care home, the garbage I put out each week. It could be what I save of myself each night, the house quiet, my mouth a dark O of howl. And we'll end on the boy and try not to cry. So in 4 sleeps, he will be 16, which means a year ago in 4 sleeps, I wrote this poem. So the final poem in the book. Reading Rilke on my son's 15th birthday. And there's lines from Rilke throughout the poem. So I'll just tell you that when he was very little, we're more relaxed now, but he couldn't eat a lot of food. So part of Prader-Willi syndrome is that he was at risk of putting on lots of weight. So the beginning touches on that. For my son's 6th birthday, a friend carved a watermelon into a cake shape. Why, if this interval of being can be spent remembering, am I wasting it again, wondering what bird outside is calling and for whom? Also, the dog's deep sighs, their meaning. Why then have to be human and, escaping from fate, keep longing for fate? Fate. The car swerves at the last or before the last moment. The bird sees the glass and stops before body reaches it. Always fate stops death, or attention does. I thought years ago, though truly it feels like minutes, if I paid attention, the years wouldn't just fall away. An image. I'm on a treadmill holding the baby of him. But because truly being here is so much, because everything here apparently needs us, that need is such a mothering thought, is it? To be needed is to be loved, is it? From birth, we encourage each child to move away, crawl or walk or run or drive. Soon his driver's license, said the special ed bus driver, knowing this will not be his fate. Fate as in destiny. What is yours? You ask yourself again, Rilke offering need and the rhythm of his line. He doesn't have an answer, but what a thinker he is. Perhaps we are here in order to say house, bridge, fountain, gate, picture, fruit tree, window. Yes, I think, and to love, which he speaks of, that near unnameable force that is not gravity, but which hurts and holds us. Perhaps to know body, bone, and bowel, to let the pimples come and let the frown lines deepen and the jowls of age come, to let the body rise in breath, to suffer each bruise and cut, each terrible death. But wait, it's my son's birthday, Do not bring death here. Bring longevity, bring life expectancy, bring life. And now I am eager to leave the poem to find an exit. How Rilke held himself in it, moved to the next thought and sound. Traffic's bleary hum on Quadra Street. The same bird's persistent squeak answered from another tree. The next fleeting thought that inside their boundless emotion, all things may shudder with joy. Praise, he says, praise this. The blue eyes, the dimpled smile, the crooked spine, the swayed back, the loud laugh, the voice finding itself, the unhappy yelp, the anxiety, its trilling body shake, the curl of ear, the soft skin, the newborn, and the man within, the resilience of the boy, the boy, the boy, and his father, and his mother, and all. Thank you so much.